Good evening, everybody. It's 7:30. Well, 7:35. Sorry, we had actually thought we were live, but realized we are not. It's always a joy coming to you every Friday, like I always say. On before and after, I say I do, and I'm your host, Pauline Gikang'ah, and there is a bit of slowness. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Here we are. Yeah. Yeah. There's a bit of echo. I hope not coming from anywhere. We will definitely settle down. We have prayed that we have good internet tonight. Let me share this on the pages, also my guests' pages as we continue. Just hold on as we get a couple of you coming on board. We welcome you as we start this show. We are looking forward. We have been looking forward. Our guests are ready to share, like I said, to share their lives with us and their journeys with us this evening. Yes, I've done that. Yes, I should be fine now. And there we go. So as you come on, as you start coming on this evening, we are grateful. I said earlier, I'm your host, Pauline Gikang'ah. Those who are joining us for the very first time, and the show before and after, I say I do. And of course, most of you know that in our this month of October, we have been talking about forgiveness in marriage. And I want to thank our viewers and any other people who will watch this after that we are grateful for the feedback that we have been receiving, for the you coming in for counseling, saying how the episodes have just changed the way you do things. And when it comes to forgiveness, that you have taken that step. Remember, one thing we have been emphasizing is that forgiveness is not a human language. It's not something you just wake up and decide, but it's something that is divine, that only God can be able to help you to do that. Yes, so I have my two lovely guests, Jennifer and Jade, who are with us this evening. And I'll say lovely as a big introduction, and of course a lot that what you saw on the flyer. But I want to give them this chance to tell us a little bit more, as people continue joining us, so that we're digging into the topic of today: what happens when parents do not forgive each other, whether in a marriage setup, whether during separation, whether even during a divorce. How can that affect our children if we are not able to forgive? Because remember, from what you've been hearing, even from our guests, you're actually able to be separated, but having forgiven your spouse so that you can be able to co-parent well. We'll be digging deeper into that and seeing how we go around that. So let me see the first one on my screen. Let me start with Jennifer. Please tell us a little bit more about you, Jennifer. Who are you?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm glad to be on this platform today. I really thank God. I don't take it for granted. My name is Jennifer Wachira, as you have heard. I worship at Parklers Baptist Church. I am an entrepreneur working with government supplies. Yes, and I'm a born-again Christian, a mother of two. And also I serve in healing ministry at Parklers Baptist Church. That is divorce care ministry.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer, for telling us a little bit more about yourself. Now over to Jade.
Right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jade Gichuri. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's by grace of God that we are here. So I am a mother of three, a single mom of three, divorced over 10 years. I have my oldest is in campus, and then I think it's in third year. And I have twins who are in Form 3, or should be Form 3. We don't know where they are at the moment. I'm a pastor serving with Mavuno Church. I'm also a counselor, I'm a therapist, and using the Body Found Place, which is my the ministry body that I use to do therapy, and I do divorce care. I care for single moms through it, and I also do relationship coaching. And yeah, I just do therapy. That's who I am. Yeah. Mm.
Wow, thank you so much also for that introduction and what God has called you. One thing that Jade told me, I'll tell you this, that she's a shy person. She does it for the glory of God. And I believe
Yes.
even Jennifer to come and just share her journey, it's just for the glory of God, really, because somebody said don't waste your pain. And I know that's why our guests are here. They don't want to waste what they went through. And I don't want to preempt anything. So maybe let me start with you, Jennifer. Jennifer, tell us a bit about your marriage life and how was your marriage life like?
Wow. Uh, Thank you once again, Pauline. Yeah, I was married for 12 years, and like anybody else. Yes, I was happily married, looking forward for good times with my partner. Yes, and during the period of our marriage, we were blessed with two children, two girls, a 19-year-old now and a 10-year-old now. And the relationship, as I say, was really good. It was fantastic at the beginning. It was all honeymoon, yeah? Yeah, and it went on like that because we could really share a lot. We could consult one another. We were actually in love. We could do things together. Yes, I can say even as Bible instructors, love and submission was in its place. So we didn't struggle with that until now it got to our around fourth to fifth year. That's when now issues started now showing, as small as they were, and they continue growing and growing. Yes, and initially, I think we were not able to arrest it in good time, so things kept on escalating. And yeah, now at that point, now after the fifth year is another story by its own, now of pain and struggling to keep my marriage, which was not easy. Yeah.
Maybe Jennifer, what is it that you saw and you realized that there's really an issue in my marriage right now? What is it that you'd say was a major thing that happened after the 5 years? How did it start?
What I can say, as we got to do things together and to consult one another, so there was this change that just came in, that we were not now in a position to work together, And then when we get to ask, or rather the other person gets to ask, there's no answer, or rather it just brings other issues, So it's mostly I can say there's that change that now personally I was not used to, that came, and there was no explanation for that change. Why am I doing this without telling you? Why am I coming late without telling you? Why am I buying this without telling you? So that's why I felt like at some point I was left out. I was not consulted as far as the marriage things were concerned. Yeah.
So you started drifting away.
Yes, yes, yes. Now we started now drifting away. And then as a human being, now I started again as a person now reacting to his actions, because now I was not able to bear with what he was doing. And the best I could do, because now I was in pain, I was just struggling even to just have my space, which was not easy. So in that struggle, now I got into reacting, which now the reactions again escalated the whole thing. Now it turned from bad to worse. Yes, now it came to a point that it was not manageable, because in that period now, as I was struggling with that, there was a lot of misunderstanding. Like I'm trying to bring a conversation on the table, but it was not easy. There was no communication. You know, the communication had broken down, and then there was no explanation to anything. So I felt betrayed, you know, and then there was a lot of hate that just came in, you know, a lot of animosity that I couldn't really explain. Slowly, it just got into verbal abuse, you know, emotional, and it also became physical, you know. And at that point, even the pressure became too much, you know, it became too much. It became unbearable, you know. And at that point, I can say the environment was just really bad for me, and also the children, because even they could they could see all this that was happening. Yeah, it's something that they could watch since they were there as these things were happening. Yeah.
All right. We'll come back to you, Jennifer. Jade, tell us about your journey, how you began, how was life like for you in your marriage?
Well, I wish I could say like Jennifer, it was all rosy and but the truth is, I was with my ex-husband for about 10 years. The dating, living together, doing a wedding, and then a couple of years after the wedding, living together. But our relationship I've actually written a book. Let me first say, did I say I'm an author? The book is called The Heart is Not So Smart. And the book is really my experience of how I ended up marrying him and my lessons about get married. So I married him, seen a lot of red flags. And once or twice I did think I should break up with him. But then at one point I ended up pregnant, and I thought the best thing, and I guess we both thought the best thing is for us to, get married, to be together. But there were red flags. It didn't have, from day one, there were issues that I could see, but I was willing to compromise. I was willing to look the other way. And for the sake of saying, you know what, we have a baby, we can make it work. And we tried. I tried. Let me speak for myself. I tried, for several years there. But from day one, I mean, after a year or so, I could tell there were some individual red flags that I thought even about the relationship, but the red flags would carried on even when he got married to the children. They became issues that were personality or individual issues that also translated to the kids getting affected by those things that I'd already seen. So by the time I was demanding a change and wanting us to do our marriage differently, I think he wasn't ready for it. We tried therapy once. He didn't want to go back again. Then it escalated to violence. But before it got to violence, there was a lot of emotional abuse. That's one of the red flags, that the behavior was actually an emotional abuse. Looking back now, even I know it was emotional abuse, but what do I know at 23, at 24? And then, so before the violence, there had been a meeting where it had been agreed the marriage, we should actually separate for the sake of our sanity, and it wasn't going well. We're meeting with both parents. But again, I thought I saw a little bit of change. Then I was like, and then he said, I think I can change. And I was like, okay, let's try. And everybody thought, my goodness, Jade, you're daft, man. Take the break. But then I had hope. You always have hope. So the violence was it. Where now, eventually, the violent got in is when I knew I needed to make a move. Yeah. Sad as it was, yes. Yeah.
Sad as it was. All right.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, at what age in your marriage, rather, how long had you been married? And what is it that happened that had to make you leave?
What I can mention, Pauline, okay, as I told you, when things started being worse at the 6th year, yeah, and from that 6th year, I can actually we separated, yeah, because from that time up to now to the final separation, we did like 3 other separations, you know, like in and out, just trying to make things worse, yeah. And actually, the first separation, even what caused, like now I had to just walk out. And I remember that time I was expectant. I was the 36-week pregnant with my second born, which now we just got into a disagreement, which now became physical. And before I realized there was violence, and now the baby that I had carried, we lost the baby on the way, like, at that time due to the fights, And at that point for me, it was too much, just to getting to a point where you are losing a baby, you are losing a human being. I was like, this is not worth it, just keeping this marriage. And that is the first time that I actually walked out. And I remember at that time now, okay, this basically now you've lost a baby. And I had my firstborn again, who was watching this. And in fact, even that time that it got into to physical, even her getting involved, just coming to trying to pull us apart and all that, So like she really went down with all that. And I was not really ready to watch all these things happening. So I think the first thing that I just made me walk out, it was violence, when now we couldn't really keep up.
So that was after you said, how many years of marriage did you now, it couldn't work anymore?
6 years now. That was the 6th year now. Yeah, it was the 6th year. Yes, after now I walked out. Then after a year, it was like, again, we can come and just try to make things work. And again, now I was back. We tried counseling. We tried just involving our parents and the spiritual leaders. And in the process again, that's how now I got now my second born now, after losing the other one, who is now 10 years old. Yeah. So, and in that way of just trying to work it out, even with a counselor and going through the process with a counselor. And again, after the end of it, it's like nothing changed. It's like we just got back to the same arguments, to the same stories again. And I was like, oh, okay, I think we are not yet ready for this. And that's when now, again, the second separation took place. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And then after the second, you said you still had a third one.
Yes. Again, as a woman and as somebody who you really try your best to make your marriage work, you don't want just to give up like this, even despite losing all that I lost, I was like, I can give it another chance. And since even I was really, I had prayed about it, and I felt like, okay, God has answered my prayer now, and this time was like, let me give it I give it another shot. And that is what now, again, I got into it, and it didn't last long, when now things just became worse, and we couldn't really bear one another, be together at all, when now we just had to really fight, Yeah, and that's when now I can say now the final breakup happened, when now I just had to make a decision that whether to continue with this thing or not, because now it had become too much, and it was affecting us, affecting the children, and even derailing our progress in all the ways, Yeah, that it was not as easy as just making that decision, but I had to choose just my own peace, happiness, my, and for the children. Yeah.
How was it for the children between that time, Jennifer?
One thing I can say, the children were really affected. Yeah, and for one thing, after watching what was going through, you see, this is something that we did in their presence. So they watched the verbal, the conversation, they watched the physical abuse and all that. And with this, it really traumatized them, especially the older daughter, who by that time she was around 8 years. And she got into a point of just fear. She was just fearful, even fearing for her life, even fearing for those evenings, because she didn't know how things could turn up that evening when daddy, okay, when he came to the house, So she was at that point that holding onto mom all the time, because she's scared. She don't know, she didn't know what to expect. And also second, for her, she really got affected, because now again she got withdrawn, like even in school, she couldn't really perform as she used to do before. And then even just how she related with the friends also changed, to a point even I was called to school because of disciplinary issues, she really changed, And then at the point I saw also something else, that she got affected. Now she was like, she don't know who to choose. Like she was forced to take sides. You know, she wanted to be with mommy, but this is my daddy, and this is happening. So I think she was at that a scenario who she didn't know exactly who to be with. Yeah. And then even as I mentioned again, even getting to a point that she want to be involved, you know, like she want to come in and just try to put us apart. You know, at her age, it really again worked on her emotionally. She was really traumatized, and she was emotionally worn out completely. You know, you could see it in herself. Yeah.
And how was your state yourself? Because you said it came to a point you also had to, you know, to like when it's whatever is done to you, you're aggressive. I mean, it was difficult.
Yes.
How was your state like, Jennifer?
Yes, because now when it got to a point when now things were, it was violent to a point now I had to protect myself. Now it's, I also changed to be violent because at any time when now I had to fight back, you know, like I had even at some point, I thought even like arming myself, even carrying a knife because I didn't know how things would be. And since I did not have the strength to physically fight, I had to do something that will help me just hit back, you know. And that for sure, it really worked on me on the negative ways that I got drained. I became tired. I lost my mind, you know. And then I just, as I say, I was also fearful because I didn't know how this person would come. So I was not even being in that house. I didn't know how things would turn out to be, how he would come, you know. So I had to stay armed. I had to stay ready, you know, even to a point, because I know we had gotten to a point that being physical, we had broken the windows, the doors. So there was not even any place that you could lock, you know, like now it was free entry, you know. So it was such an environment that really affected me. And for sure, I just became somebody else. That's why I say sometimes even I don't blame those people who get to, you see on news, on television, I don't know who killed who. Sometimes you get to be pushed to the wall, and what next? Because you need to protect yourself, you know. So yeah, such scenarios. But I thank God that I just got the situation was salvaged before it got to that point. Yeah.
To that point. All right. So over to you, Jade. So you continue in this marriage, you're seeing these red flags. How did it accelerate until you got to a point? You can unmute yourself, Jade. It got to a point where you had to leave, and that was after how long?
I think for me, the red flags with my firstborn, I was able to manage because my firstborn became sort of my reason to stay and to keep working at it. And he wasn't physical at that point. He was really more emotional. By the time the twins came and he had really become, the emotion was, I didn't realize it was totally emotional abuse until I did therapy. Then as I've become a therapist myself, I've understood what was happening. But I think with the twins, it got really escalated because it is hard to explain. Someone who doesn't hit you, doesn't talk back at you, doesn't shout, doesn't do anything. He just withdraws. So he would withdraw, not I talk for a month or a week, and it's even affecting the children. And then things would happen with the children. I would take them to hospital. He would not do it with me. I got sick twice. I even had an operation. He would not be interested about that. So it just escalated to that where he withdrew so much, and I was overwhelmed with 3 children and my life. And then so I started demanding more, and he was like, he can't give it more. So I think at that point, because the violence happened when I left, they were 3 years. So, and the more I thought about it, I started now getting totally disengaged.
Yes.
So by the time I'd been together 7 years about, I was like, even I can disengage. It's because it's too much. So what I didn't realize, I could see the effect of the children when he withdraws and everything. But then I only realized the magnitude of what had happened when I left. My oldest, when we were married, he was in, I think, lower primary pre-unit class 1. He was always number last. The first time when I left, he was number 3. As in, the turnaround was so fast. So I didn't realize that he had been so scared for a very long time. He used to draw pictures in school. So they later showed me as I was transferring him. And they're like, do you want to see his file? So what he draws on Monday is really sad. I don't want to like cry. But then I didn't realize how much that environment was affecting him. My daughter never used to talk much, was a very quiet child. I actually thought I had a quiet girl, like really quiet and, you know, but the year of when I left, she was about, like the turnaround of the children was a shocker to me, let me just say. So sometimes you think you're hiding a lot. That's what I realized. You think your children are not aware just because there's no shouting and there's no violence, because we didn't have the shouting and the violence until the moment the violence happened. And it just happened once, and because now I couldn't hide it, they could see I'm eating in a straw, I'm using a straw to eat. 3 weeks, my face is kind of, so they knew something had happened, but they're not sure this, that. What I didn't realize that the environment had created, they were affected by it. The emotional abuse had completely affected them. So they also changed when we left. Actually, I thought I got very different children. I was amazed. I actually thought I'd been covering them, I'd been protecting them. They were not affected. I thought I was the only one, really, for real. Until
thought you were the only one.
I actually thought I was the only one. I mean, I could see small signs when you were still at home, because they would crave his attention and you wouldn't give it. And I would see the withdrawing, especially one of my sons. And my youngest son struggled immediately I left. His reaction was anger. I was nearly taken once or twice to the police because his anger caused chaos in the playground, because he couldn't understand the change. He knew something has happened because there were 3. So the effect was, there was good effect, but there was also bad effects of there was some serious effect to it also. So the balance was quite something. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all right, so we'll definitely get back to just hear a little bit more about what that was for your children. But Jennifer, what did your children have to go through during your journey of separation? How was that for you? How was it for your children? How did you manage that? Both of you, your own children.
Okay, at the beginning, Pauline, if I may say, okay, there was that unexpected changes. Yes, now, since now the final one, their dad had to leave, and then during that time, some things had to change, like for them, even now, that place they knew as a home, now going to a place that you're not used to, and of course, now a new environment. And again, getting new friends, like now the friends that you had, they are no longer accessible. So there was that like drastic change to them that it was really hard to cope with. And of course, maybe the kind of lifestyle again that now they are used to now, since now things have changed, maybe to a one stream of income as well. So there was that adjustment again that was too, the changes were too much at a go, and at this time, again, you see, like you are used to coming back to a home where there's a mom and a dad, and again now you're coming back to a home that there's only one parent, and also in school where you go to school and there's also that change, the other children are being picked by their father, since now before the separation, he could we could pick them, either him or I, but a time has come now, your dad is not picking you. What do you explain to the kids? So you could see that there was a lot of things that happened during that time. And also, like as a mom, because I'm also going through those emotional roller coaster, because I'm also trying to understand exactly what has happened. So the best way I can do is to hold on to my children. So I tried even to keep the kids away from him, like like showing you cannot even see the children. And to him, he had now to withdraw the support of the kids. You see now all these changes, and I remember even when even we are going through now the you know, like the separation now, there are all these things that they had to really cope with, which it was difficult, even to a point now when we are going to court now, you know. Yes, and even getting to that point, since now our case was a bit difficult, even the kids had to be involved, you know. They have to be in court, they have to appear before the magistrate, you know. They were interrogated, you know, just as they were trying to determine the issue of custody, where do they want to stay and all that, you know. So it got to a point, you see.
That because that I imagine how that affected them. What were they asked, for example?
Yes, because I remember the small girl, the last born, she was around 5 years. Yeah, 5 years or 4 years. And now they appeared in a private session. You know, it was not public, but the kind of question even the magistrate that just put across them, it was something just trying to get the information from them, who they are comfortable with. And one of the questions, like my younger daughter shared with me, that she was asked that if your mom and dad were to come back to, I mean, would you wish your mom and dad to get back together, you know, in the same house? And now, because of what they had seen, like the physical fight, the answer they gave is like, our house is too small to accommodate anybody extra. So I think with that, they are able to see that they are not ready to accommodate anybody else in the house. So you can see, even for them appearing in court now, again, it makes them make a very, very critical decision as far as their parents are concerned, you know. Yeah, now they are forced to take sides, you know, and all that, which was not easy for them. And one thing, Pauline, that I really want to share, that I even affects me and the children up to date, that even during that time that I did unknowingly, even because of anger, we are with the children at the court, you know, in the court, and then their dad with his people, the relatives and the witnesses, and me with my with my people. So we have camp A, camp B. Then after the session, the kids are naturally, they are running towards the father. After now, we are going now out. And then I just held them and stopped them from running towards their father. And you know, it caused a scene, because they shouted, they couldn't understand why they cannot say hi to their father. And for me, I was here crying. It's like, I don't, you know, this person, what he has said, and then you want to run towards him and all that. So, and I know it really drew them, you know, it took them down, because it was not a really good scene that happened while I was just trying to, you know, to safeguard or to protect them in that manner, you know, just not to get to their father. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So Jade, how was it for you? Okay, so you leave and then you're separated now. How was that for the children? You said your son got anger issues and would cause commotion. What else would you say that they went through? And between you and the dad, was there an issue about where do they stay and all?
Actually, as I said, mine was one of the issues we had even when married is that I wanted him more interested in the children, which he wasn't, and he thought. I mean, he was okay with the little or the not so little he gave. So even after the separation, one of the things the kids and I for sure went through is the rejection and the abandonment, is in the fact that he didn't look for us. He didn't come to us for reconciliation. He did. So by the time we were going to the children's court is because I needed to transfer the children to schools. And before that, he had been involved in the paperwork, his name and all, and the birth certificates. He didn't fight it. He didn't fight for the children, which now, of course, causes, especially now that they are teens, towards the teenagers, we talked about that rejection and abandonment. But when they were younger, immediately when it happened, what happened is, first of all, as I said, they got a bit more freedom and more happy in doing things. But that's just one side of it. The other side that we totally struggled with was identity. We used to have meetings the first Saturday of every month. I just started a meeting with them just to hear how they're feeling, just I'm big on processing. I guess I was always meant to be a therapist. So I'm big on wanting to hear, what are you feeling? What are you saying? So I was small. And one of the big issues they struggled with is, what do they tell other children their father is? And so we had a whole conversation on who are they? Me, I've gone back to my dad's name. Why are they keeping their dad's names? and they chose to take my dad's name. So they let go of their dad names. So we kept on having to agree on sentences to tell other children on things of identity. And then over the teen years is when now I've started hearing, do I look like? They keep saying my daughter looks like me. Do my boys, who do they look like? Because we didn't co-parent, as I said before. I think I said that. Because he didn't look for us and he didn't fight for us. We didn't co-parent. He wanted to support 1-2 months, the first sort of year. Then he's just stopped. And that's actually how we ended up in court. Because now when he stopped, I couldn't leave them in the schools they were in. We couldn't live the same lifestyle. So I needed to make a decision now for me and the kids, knowing that we are on our own. But the legal part of it, I needed it sorted. So he didn't come to court. He was given an amount of money to be given every month. He only gave 1 month. My lawyer was always like, let's go after it. But I looked at the turmoil I was experiencing myself, and I knew if I go into the court thing, as Jennifer said, it's very hard. I mean, when I did the divorce, the court things, I would cry. I couldn't manage it. So I can imagine having the children in that space. So on the other hand, so I chose not to fight. I chose not to fight for maintenance because I realized I myself, I'm struggling emotionally. My anger was on road. I had serious road rage, serious. But at home, I was quite quiet. But on the road, I can tell you the many times I've been hooted on and then I switch off the car in the middle of the highway. Even the cops come to the window, true story. Then I watch and know your mama. That about 2-3 years, I was a very angry person. But it was never to the children, but more outward on the road. So I chose not to have those court battles about the children and about maintenance. But yet when I look back, because it's also been the financial has been very heavy on me, but then by God's grace, I have a very good village around me, thank God. I have very good family, my parents, and very good friends. So we have they have really worked with me. But I also think there's a place to maybe enforce it because they're the parents. So I weighed putting them back in that emotional sort of abuse or fighting for maintenance. I didn't have the energy. Or then even when I looked at my children, I knew it would be worse for them. And it would have been. That is one of the choices I made. And but even with that choice, I saw the effect on my children. I saw like Father's Days was so hard for many days. They'll be down because of church or all the songs on the radio. Then I would ask my kids, and then they'll say, okay, not really, Papa, but it would be great to have a father. Other people have fathers. So we have had many conversations about, they can break your heart because they're like, I don't understand. I mean, in school, the teacher teaches. No more family, father, mother, children. What? Those lessons, I can tell you, I needed Jesus to have a calm conversation. It's okay. We are a full family, but I can see the confusion, the heart. Identity was a big thing. I'm not sure we are out of the woods yet with identity because, as I said, my twins are still teenagers. Actually, they're all teenagers. So we are still unraveling it. So I can say in the last 14, 15 years, that has been a big deal. That has been the lack of and then unfortunately, with our separation, his family also kept away. And maybe because I was also very like, I'm not gonna look for you. I'm not gonna put any effort. So of course now, without knowing that whole side, also it makes them wonder, who are we? Who are we? And that's why I'm always so like, if people can, because they need to know it. They need to, but there are circumstances where, like, when I look at it, they could have been more, I think it would have been a bit worse. But God is good. What can I say? God is good because He's still been fathering them. Why, like, they're still, yeah.
Wow.
But the effects are there.
Wow. Yeah. Now, over to you again. So, Jennifer, you start the process and you're feeling like you want to keep the kids away from the dad. How did that process continue? How was it until you finished? Now, continuation, even divorce comes. How did you progress and how was it for your children?
Okay. Pauline, it was not as easy. And I know one thing that helped me since the same time I was also trying to embark on my healing journey, which I felt I needed to work on myself. And in the process, I know it also helped me very much to even trying to relate with the other partner, and also how to bring in the children. Yeah. And I know after now the issue of now the marriage was dissolved, and again the issue of children was settled, custody and maintenance and all that. Yeah, it was not now easy again to deal with the new. It was now some new arrangement. Initially I did not expect, because I remember at one point I was in court, and it was during the holiday of November, December there. And the court just said that they should stay with the father, have the holiday, and then with the mother have the holiday. And then that is, I had a lot of pain that time. I didn't imagine my kids could go a place that I did not know where they were going to. I really struggled with that. And I know I cried very much. And my lawyer at that time just told me, you just have to do or to comply with the court orders. And one thing I learned, Pauline, that time, okay, sometimes we struggle with the things that we don't know about how the outcome will be. But when the point came for me to release, when I released, so it was just the other side, it was taken very well, like there was no more fight again. And then to a point that we were able now after that to have even like the responsibilities that even you are given by the courts and more, just to stick to that. Like I could allow the kids to see him. Now I reached a point, since I was also walking my healing journey, I didn't want to struggle with that anymore, since now it was again taking me down. So I was like, what do I do? And then I was like, let me just release, since and the point I said, the children belong to him as much as they belong to me. So let me just release and just pray over them. And once I did that, I felt a lot of peace, And once now that worked, it was easy for me now, even just to allow it to happen more often. So he could pick them when he wants. And even like talking, I just made sure they have gadgets, they call him, they interact, they talk. And even funny thing, even at times when there are school meetings, like we agreed, like we need to be parents, we don't need to be lovers, but we can be parents to these children. Even we could accompany, go even in the same vehicle and go for school meetings. Even at some point, when my older daughter was joining university, the lecturer we found there, okay, he was like, he just told my daughter, you really have good parents. Both of them have come just to, to bring you in, and the rest are coming by themselves, not knowing that even we've just come from different direction, because it reached a point that we just need to be civil, we just need to be to up our game, to mature, and just to bring up our kids well. And the kids really celebrated that, because even they got to a point of appreciating the fact that, okay, we are not living in the same home, but we can actually do things together, Yes, and I saw that thing even in them. It really changed even their behavior. They again became brighter, just knowing that their father is available for them. I am available, even though we are not living in the same house. Yeah.
That's so good.
Amazing.
That's so good.
Wow, I'll get back to you and just know how that felt, because I realized you brightened up when you shared that part of when you were able to let go and let it be. Wow. So Jade, so you continued, and the dad and your husband, well, then the ex, will never look for you guys. So how has it been for them? Now they're in teenage, and you said that you have been having conversations with them.
Yeah.
Has there ever come a point where they've asked to see their dad?
So what happened in one of our meetings, we agreed that I'll look for him when they turn 18. I'll look for him and I'll tell him, and if he wants to meet them, and we'll meet them. So the agreement was from when they were pretty young. So the questions, they didn't ask to, when they were younger, they just kept asking, where is he? Then we had this conversation where I said, because I used to wonder, is he in Nairobi? So I said, yes, he's in Nairobi. And I did tell them that we agreed that I'm the one to raise them. I wasn't gonna, I really worked hard at not bad mouthing him. and that's because it causes more damage, really. So I wasn't planning to create him like a, so they actually have no much clue of what went on, but they just know we agreed, I'll look for him. In the meantime, I'm the one to look after them. So when they turned 18, God's ways are not our ways. I was in a meeting with, as I said, our very good friends, and they challenged me, asking me whether I've really forgiven him. It was quite a challenge. I've been saying, I've forgiven. Then a year before, around, I think 2016 or 2017, 2016, I was told he's very unwell. He's very unwell, and the family thinks I should go see him. So it took me a whole year. I can't lie. All me with Jesus and everything. I was like, I thought I had forgiven. I'm telling you, it took a whole year for me to wrap my head around going to see him after not seeing him for probably 13 or 14 years. And I kept on thinking of how I have, we have really had challenges, and the many things I've gone through with the kids, and how I feel like he should have been there. It took me a whole year to actually actualize the forgiveness. So I went to see him. And when I saw him, it was a very hard meeting, I can't lie. As a whole other episode, you'll invite me for that particular meeting. Anyway, so when I saw him, and I did, and then I asked him whether he wants to see the children, and he said he'd want to see them. So I came home. My oldest had already turned 18. We had another meeting. I explained, and they said, good. They said, of course, do we have to, who's 18 anyway? Did we mean the oldest? So there was all this back and forth. So they were not jumping at it, but they also didn't refuse. So we planned a few weeks after I met him. We had lunch with him. But then we tried to do some follow-ups since then, and it's been 2 years, he didn't follow up. So after that, now I had to do another process, because now they were like, okay, we met him. What does it mean? We have agreed we'll be meeting over holidays. Why is it not happening? So after the third try, I think one of my children told me, just stop, let's just leave it. Let's not keep calling. I think what I thank God for, and not to say that they are okay fully 100%, is that I don't avoid the topic. I bring it up when I feel I need to, even when they don't want it, because I know they're thinking it or feeling it. So so then we talked about it. My daughter had a bit of an issue, because she was like, how can a grown man be in this city and not want to miss her children? So they are still unraveling it. They still have, that's what I was saying, even when it's a good reason. I don't know whether divorce is ever a good reason, but there is a good reason. Sometimes you could die in there. I think the effects, even then, there'll still be effects, good and bad. The challenges will still be there. So I see them in my children. So one of the, as I said, but the big thing, I think, I would say, Pauline, is that we talk about them. I try. They're also at an age where they also shrug off now, but I force issues now. In their teens, I kind of pull them in and like, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? So when they met him at that point, we had a bit of conversation, but now we don't have any more. They're just like, yeah. But I'm very sure in a few years I'll try again. Oh, yeah. But if he doesn't, it's okay. The Lord has been good to my children.
I like what you say, Jade, that you try as much as possible not to badmouth him to the children. Yeah.
Actually, that was by God's grace. I actually really didn't do it. I think my oldest asked me 2 years ago, actually, really, what happened? Because when I left, he was 6. And because he's had conversation here and there, and then I wrote the book, as I said. When I wrote the first book, I'm writing another book. When I wrote the first book, I had to talk to my oldest because I knew he would read the book. And in it, I have shared a bit of how I got to marry the dad, and subsequently why the relationship ended. And I knew there are things he'll read that he's never had before. So when he read it, I remember he just came and hugged me and was like, okay, I guess things could have been bad. But he's 20, turning 21. So I have not raised them knowing, or them knowing that there were certain things that took place or that I was hit. or that I hate. No, even my oldest just learned this year after I wrote the book. Because then I had to explain a bit. Yeah. I hope it helps them. I think, as Jennifer will tell you, everything you do when you are separated and you're left with the kids, you really pray for their peace of mind. I think so that's why even if you can co-parent as she's tried, because I do know co-parenting is hard. I've seen it. I've seen people who have, and it's a hard thing because there's a lot of heart. So I am, well done, Jennifer. May the Lord could, and I am amazed.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, oh goodness, time goes so fast. Jennifer, when I said when you got to that point of say when you are able not to allow it affect you anymore, the fact that they had to see their dad, how was that feeling for you when you were now finally able to release?
Okay, I can say the feeling was really amazing since I had gotten to a point I needed to release the anger and the bitterness towards him. And that is when I chose forgiveness. I was like, I didn't know what that animal was because it sounded so big, forgiveness, because now everybody could talk of you are so unforgiving and all that and all. But I didn't know exactly what is to forgive. And I just told God, I don't know whether it's an action or is something I should just ask for forgiveness. I don't know. But once I just started conversing with God to help me to release what I feel about him, that one, it really eased the feelings, the emotions in me. And that is when now I viewed things now from a positive angle. Now I just, like, I could see now he is not an enemy, is their father, and whatever the case, he will take care of them. And I got to that point now, it became easy. And then you see, even it really improved even in our relationship as we were co-parenting. You could see, like, as I am taking the kids, as he's picking them and dropping them back, you could see we are all, we are all happy. But as Jade was saying, it's not as easy even as I'm saying, is because we have relapses. It's not as that. Yeah, at times we'll just decide we are not talking. We are not there. Or rather, when he wants to pick them, maybe I'm not ready and all that. So there are all those circumstances that will come. That it's not as smooth. But as Jade says, we are trying. Like, personally, I decided I don't want to hurt myself anymore. I don't want to hurt the children anymore. So if it's about co-parenting, we can just be civil and just I do my part as a mother, and he does his part as a father. Because I realized I can only be a mother. I cannot be their father. I am only their mother. So, and they need that role model of a father figure. So how do I do that? So that is when now I just took it up just to engage that. And also, as Jed was saying, because one thing even I learned of just not trashing him before the children, like now is like I don't talk anything negative, about him to the kids. I am just is about their father. Let them see anything for themselves, but I didn't want to influence, their thinking or their thought in any way. So I think that really helped me, and just knowing the fact that appreciating the fact that our marriage failed, but the parenthood still remains and it continues. I think that really helped me, and also to a point that we can actually be friends. You can be friends and just raise the kids as father and mother. We can be we can just be amicable in anything that we do, a discussion and all that. Yeah.
Are your children now, of course, after leaving, then of course you started co-parenting? What kind of discussions what is it that your children would tell you, Jennifer, about the journey, that the fact that you were separated and all, but you said again you didn't want to badmouth the dad, you got to that point, but how was it for them? How have they navigated?
I know, okay, it has not been easy at all, but it has been better compared to when we started. It's not easy, but it's better. For one thing, I can see, okay, they have gotten to a point of just accepting the fact that we can no longer be in one home with their father, and they're okay with that. And the second thing, now there are all those situations like about school that we need now to get to that point of just agreeing about that. And sometimes it depends now, you know, I have my choice, he has his, and all that, getting to that point, yeah. But one thing I've really seen the effect that I can talk of, Pauline, especially for my, okay, I told you I have two daughters, one of my girls, and because this is a change that came after now this separation and divorce now, that she now, she changed, you know, she drifted in a way. She became like, she did not trust any friends, you know. At her age, she's now 19, she does not really keep or cling onto friends, because this thing affected her. So she does not trust friends, to a point I become so concerned when she has just introduced me to this friend. When I come to learn after a month, she no longer has that friend. So I found out like she is the kind, she don't want to be hurt. So if she realizes this thing will not work, she drops you before you drop her, you know, like she has to protect her emotions, you know. And then for the younger one, how now she reacted to all this. Now she became so clingy to friends. Like now, she really fears to be rejected. Because in school, I've been called a number of times that once somebody refuses to be her friend, she becomes emotional, she cries. There's a certain person who she has refused to be my friends. So she's really suffering and she fears to be rejected, you know. So you see, these are now the effect now came after that, now they need to deal with. But once now I've noted that, I try to talk to them, you know, I really try to talk to them. Yeah, like the younger girl, just telling her, you see, there are so many friends, you know, you can, if this one goes, you can always get another friend, you know. And also then, and the older one just try to encourage her with her friends, all that, just to see how she will end up with. But actually it has really affected them.
Wow, wow. All right. So, Jade, what do you think now looking back would have been done differently so that the effect on the children would not have been so much? You know, when you are having issues at home and then, of course, later separate. How different do you think it would have been done?
Well, I think uh, wow, it's such a good question. I don't know. I've never thought what would I have done differently. Um, I think I when okay, before I left, before the violence happened, as I said, I also withdrew. I got tired of being the one to carry the emotional part of the relationship, and when now you both withdraw, it reached a point where I remember we had this conversation. You live in one side of the house, I'll live in the other side of the house, or rather, he moved to the SQ. So we wanted to, because he had already now moved to another room. Now we wanted even to move it further. Let's just live separate lives. You do what you want to do, and I took him literally. So we were living two separate lives, and I remember one of the things that happened at that season is. I had an affair before I left, but then I couldn't even keep it up for more months because I was like, this is not where I wanted to be. And so we by the time I'm coming back, but I'd already really checked out. I was done fighting. So by the time even the family came and they said, okay, maybe we should separate. But then we sat down again and said, okay, let's try again. But maybe leave. I thought, okay, let's try. So I think it's very hard for one person to fight for a marriage. I don't know how it needs to be two people really wanting it and really fighting. There's only so much you can carry as one person. I think, I don't think there was anything I would have done for my marriage to really differently. Even now, knowing, then I wasn't even a believer. But even now, looking back, I don't think there was, because as I said, there were serious red flags, and I think if he hadn't dealt with those red flags himself, and in the book, I also share my own red flags. I entered that marriage carrying baggage, having wounds. I had my own traumas, which I had never dealt with. So it was two hurting people who had baggages who ended up together, and we had never dealt with our individuals' issues. So the what would have happened if both of us had gone for therapy individually, then come together after dealing with our own? That probably would have been the only thing that would have helped our marriage at that point. But then I think, yes, but after, I think looking back, is I don't know whether it would have changed, but I would have really wanted him to be part of the children's life. Yeah, I'd have wanted him to want it. I think the fact that he didn't fight and he didn't look and he didn't want was a really hard blow, not only to me but also to the kids, because I know they have talked about. So he just abandoned us, and it's hard not for me to say, they want to hear like, there was court issues or he banged the door down and I refused. If I suppose I wish it was that way, then I can say, actually I'm the one who refused. But I don't have such a story, so I feel it tends. So I do wish he would have wanted to be part of the kids. When I met him, let me say, when I met him the time when I went to see him, and I asked him why, he said it's because I would have put conditions. And I told him for sure I would have had conditions, because you'd have to choose your, one of the things I talk about, if you'll allow me to say, is, which I believe in, is if you're going to co-parent, there needs to be a system, because kids only thrive where there's a structure and there's commitment and it's continuous, not haphazard. So you cannot, even when you're co-parenting, if it's haphazard and there's no commitment and there's no structure around it, it will still harm the children, probably more than if they never saw the person. So, and I was telling him, all I asked that first time you asked is that, do you want one Saturday, every Saturday? Imagine, that's all I asked. I was like, and I still believe it. I still believe up to today, children should not be co-parented in a haphazard way, because I do a lot of therapy of older children or older people. The haphazard also causes chaos emotionally. And so, and I told him that, and I stick to it. There should have been a structure and a commitment to it. An agreement, because co-parenting should not, just even intentional parenting also, even you, when you, let's say, our intentional parenting is also structured. It's not haphazard. You have to know you're making time for them, even now. Even when you're two of you, isn't it, Pauline? You are aware that if we don't create the time, we can get busy with other things. We can get overwhelmed.
So for you, you'd encourage a gentleman out there who is not maybe interested in the marriage, but should be interested with the children. That's what I hear.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you're not interested in the birth of the children, it's fine, but figure a way out to be involved in your children's life. Let me tell you, even once a month visit, if nothing else, as long as it's consistent, it's a commitment, the kids know, the children know, they will still get something from it. It's the once a month, because I've seen it in some single moms I work with. Then 6 months later, the children are still like, it's not coming. That causes, so the mom has 6 months of working on this child, then you show up again. Then they're back on round. You keep, so, and I'm sure even moms do it too, when the dads are the ones parenting the sole whatever. I'm not saying it's only dads, it's just that it's normally the mother who ends up with the kids most of the time. So you're right, I do agree that if anything, they could try. But if not, the Lord is on the throne. The children will still thrive. That much I can confess. I still see it. So I do know that as long as God is at the center of it, the children will thrive. The Lord will allow it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Jade. Jennifer, what do you think for your case, because of your children, because that's our focus more today, you would have handled that issue, even between you and your husband, the issues you went through, and now the separation, then divorce? How different would you think it would have been done?
Yeah, what I wish, Pauline, and one thing as adults we forget, that the children, they go through the same emotions as we do, and they struggle, with the divorce or separation the same way we do, because at times parents, we tend to neglect them. We feel like they do not have, they're not part of that, they do not have feelings.
Sorry. Sorry, we'll get back to her. I hope are you okay, Jennifer?
Yeah, sorry for that. Yes, so I think what I could have done differently is just to get to that point that these children are going through the same emotions that I'm going through, and they're suffering. So to take time and just talk to them and discuss about the change and the difference that is happening, because sometimes we don't tell them what is happening. So they tend to, you see this today, tomorrow you see that, so you don't know whether daddy has left, whether he's coming or not coming. So just take time, sit with them and try to break it down at their level and explain to them exactly what is happening. We are not living together for this reason and that. And also just trying to make them, because most of the children, they tend to take it as their fault. The breakup happened because maybe I did this, or I'm the bad one. So just taking time even to reassure them that you are not the one on fault. We couldn't just agree, and that is the reason. And something else that I could have done differently, I think I could really have avoided the court process if there was a way that we could have sat together, because as we say, no one wins in these cases. We both lose. Yeah. So if we can just get to know that from the beginning, then we just sit together and have a discussion of our children, how to raise our children up. And then if it's difficult for us, maybe we can just engage a mediator, or somebody elderly from church, or from the family, who will not take sides. Yeah. So those are things that I feel I could have done better. Just it could have saved me the emotional drain, and for the kids, if just we took that direction. Yeah, that's what I feel. And also just allowing him to be in the lives of his children, without really blocking in any way, just allowing him to be the father, and then I play my part as a mother. I know that could have really saved a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. And I believe, I mean, our viewers, we have people who are written in, and I'm actually not able to read the comments, but we'll read them after this because of time. But I really appreciate that you could share like your journey and what you've been through. And I actually want you to give your parting shots and speak to somebody, people who are struggling with they are having difficulties. They're not even separated, but they are, maybe some are not separated, but they're realizing their issues in the family as a husband and wife are at a position where their children are getting to know. And how best would you tell them, as you give your parting shot, how best would they go through that process so that their children will not be affected by the unforgiveness? And what role does forgiveness play, and would it help them to be able to secure their children's emotional well-being? Who do I start with? Jade. Yes.
Yeah, forgiveness definitely has a place to play. I think one of the things that I have come to believe, especially for if you're a believer, and if you need help to forgive, it's a divine thing. For real, it's the Lord only that helps some things to be forgiven. And then, of course, now with the Lord, it means there's nothing on this earth you can't forgive. There's nothing you can't forgive, and that's true. So I think what I would say before anyone jumps out, first of all, divorce is very hard. Living a divorce life is not an easy life. It's um, as I said, it's actually a hurtful thing, and it's true. When God said He hates divorce, it's not the people He hated. I made peace with that. It's more the hurt that it brings, and the turmoil and the trauma for generations to come. Because for real, it can flow and flow and flow because of if you don't deal with the traumas. So I'd say seek help even individually. Even tell yourself as a couple, okay, maybe you go for therapy, I go for therapy. Let me find out why I react the way I react to you on our issues before we even solve our issues. Because we like to say that marriage problems are not a partner thing; it's an individual thing. The issues come from an individual place. So first, maybe go and pack yourself, process yourself, seek help. So I'd say go for therapy individually. In fact, you can even find different counselors. Take a journey. Learn what is it that Why do I react? Where does it come from? Where is my belief system for this marriage and these issues coming from? Because then you're able to come and work on your marriage. The other thing is, it's true, you can't pretend and imagine that your children don't know what's going on. Many go through one of our things in our teens church. Well, when we used to meet and we would come and pray for the teens, and many would talk about, they would think they would pray about their exams, but they would talk about their parents' issues. That was an eye opener for me, because many would come to pray about their parents' issues, and we're thinking we want to pray about their own friends and whatever. But they're so much aware of what they're going on with their parents that their parents, I'm sure, don't know that their children know. So help your children process. They are not, and then process age appropriate. Don't tell your 5-year-old everything. Teenagers know a bit more, and they are more rough in how they react, so be honest, make it an honest conversation, and ask them, do they also want therapy? Do the teenagers also want to, because so that it doesn't escalate where you're having more rebellion and it's based on this. So I'm like, my number one thing is always seek help. Seek help therapy for yourself individually, for the marriage. And then if your children are actually affected, especially where there's violence and cases of, shouting and abuse, and then either one party is very low, gets depressed, especially even a depressed parent is equally as harmful as an alcoholic parent or a violent parent. So the effect is still felt. So help your children process. I think I also tell the parents, get brave in talking to our children in ways that you are like, God, someone else should tell them. Like, you're like, you'd rather not face them because you're still also not facing. So I got a village where I'd go and mwaga my issues and talk about everything that is going on with me. Then I'm also in a frame of mind to come and help my children process what they're feeling and what's going on. So that would be what I would say. Seek help. And then trust God. Lean on God. Yeah, lean on God. I mean, it's amazing what a relationship with God can do. But start there. Start there. Anyone who wants to, I don't know how I thought I would do marriage without God. Let me just begin. Even now, I always wonder, what was I thinking? So I'm like, yeah, let the Lord help you.
Thank you, Jade. And over to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, one thing I would really speak about, and I know even what Jed has said is mostly I was to talk about that, but just to add on before I get to mine, even how to get help for your kids if you see they need help, or when they have regressive behavior. So it's good to seek the professional help, as she has talked about, maybe a counselor. And also for the parents who are separated or divorced, we also have divorce care for kids that now they can go now in a group now at their level, just go through that process again, which has actually helped. Yeah, so as we seek for our own help as adults, also for our kids, we can actually do the same. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, about forgiveness as well. I know mostly forgiveness is a very big word, especially even when we go through the divorce recovery program, because when it gets for you thinking about forgiveness, you think you're getting the other person off the hook, like you're accepting, okay, they are not on the wrong, I was on the wrong. But it's just to encourage us that we do it as a way of obedience to God's word, because we've been told to forgive, as many times as we can, just to forgive. It doesn't matter who was on the wrong. We just forgive, and that also, it's really a therapy to us, because it's beneficial to you as a person. Because sometimes we think, you see, like unforgiveness is like we say taking the poison and hoping that the other person is going to be
die.
Yes, it's going to die, but actually is about you. Forgiveness, it's beneficial to you. So it's good to take that that step of forgiveness. And one thing that I can actually even advice for those who are still struggling, just as a way of taking an action, that person, if it's your ex-spouse or whoever, just take that action of just telling them you have forgiven them. You can do it in writing, you can do it on email, but just voice it. Just say, I have forgiven you. Yes, when you say it, it really helps. It also helps the other person. Don't even mind about their response. You just do your part and say, I have forgiven you, and then ask the same for you. Forgive me for anything that I did what I did. So once you do that, you've created a peace with yourself, and also as God expects us to do. And also by also doing that, you realize now you have released, the anger, the bitterness, and so you will be in a better position of even viewing things differently, and from a positive now perspective, and it will be easy even for as you take care of the children. So for me, there's one maybe parting shot that I would like to leave the people with, that we normally now mix issues. Yeah, we need to separate personal issue and parental issues, because now that's where the problem comes when we mix the two. Just have your personal issues candle, then the parental issues, just make them completely separate. Because once we do that as parents, we'll be able to take care of our children very, very, very well. And just to know and to appreciate the fact that both parents, we have equal, we are equal. As far as our children are concerned, there's no parent who has an upper hand, and they have the DNA of both of us. So that one we cannot change. So just to live with that, yeah. Thank you so much, Pauline.
Amazing. And yeah, it's been amazing, and time flies. And I've told our viewers this month we have been getting out of town or out of time every Friday, but I think forgiveness has been a major thing, and I'm really grateful that Jennifer and Jade, you could come and just share your lives with us. And what is coming on the top of my mind is a parting shot. I'm just thinking that as a parent, when at times we take our children through things, it is also okay to ask the children to forgive us for taking them through what we take them through. If really your child has actually seen something that was not very right, just sitting them back down and saying, we're sorry that, or I am sorry that we had to take you through that. And I imagine the wholeness comes in the family. So thank you, and our viewers as well. A lot of comments that came in, we acknowledge, and we are happy that you could stay on with us. And yes, today was the climax of forgiveness in marriage, and we know that something good is going to continue happening. And for anything, check up on our page. Even for what we are going to do next month in November, we shall update you there. So it's been our joy, and my joy as well. Your host, Pauline Gikang'ah, hosting this show this evening. Until next Friday, is God bless you from me and my viewers. So bye-bye, our viewers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.